Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Aelquilibra deck profile for post Omniscient Awakening. Big thanks to my buddy Anthony for letting me borrow his Aelquilibra deck. For the video, we got some new support from the 5th set of the Cardfight Vanguard Divine series for the Destined one of Scales, a deck that focuses on the unique overcharge ability to choose and select your different rear guards and then give them powered up abilities based on which ones you select for the overcharge ability. So very happy with the new support, because then we can stray away from the generic support to run in the decks and focus on actual cards that you can use with the overcharge ability. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the ride deck, we have the standard energy generator with our grade 0 being Gareth Raw Dragon. When rode upon, if you went second, draw a card. The grade 1 being Rakentwerfer Dragon. When this unit is rode upon by Gatling Cannon Dragon, you may call this card to rearguard. If you called it, Soul Charge 1. So just more of a rearguard setup, because it also has the overcharge ability. The grade 2 being Gatling Cannon Dragon. With this unit, when it's rode upon by a grade 3 with Aelquilibra and its card name, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose up to one grade 3 or less card from among them, reveal it, put it into your hand, and put the rest in the bottom of the deck in any order. If you revealed a card with the overcharge ability, Soul Charge 1. More soul build up for you to use, but also just search power for your many different units with overcharge. And our grade 3 in the ride deck being Destined one of Scales, Aelquilibra. Along with the copy we run in the ride deck, we also run the 3 additional copies in the main deck as well. On the Vanguard, once per turn, you can Soul Blast 2, choose 3 of your rear guards, and they get +5 until end of turn. If you chose 2 more rear guards with the overcharge ability, draw a card, and this unit gets +10 until end of turn. And it's Divine Skill on Vanguard. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, counter blast 1, choose 2 of your rear guards, they get +5 to end of turn. If your opponent's damage zone has 4 or less cards, choose one of your opponent's Vanguards, deal 1 damage. The increase of trigger effects removed for this card is also getting -10. So it doesn't negate the abilities of the trigger, it just stops the power boost from them, but also being able to select your units for the overcharge ability, if it was chosen, is going to come up with a lot of the many different overcharge units that we run in the deck to benefit from being chosen for the many different abilities of your Destined one of Scales, because you can choose 3 with the first ability, and then the Divine Skill allows you to choose 2, so you can potentially choose all of your overcharge rear guards to be able to use with your Vanguard. For the other grade 3s, we run 4 copies of Panzercheck Dragon. With overcharge, when this unit attacks, if it was chosen by the ability of your grade 3 with Aelquilibra, Energy Blast 3, it gets +15 till end of battle. At the end of that battle, draw a card and retire this unit. So just added power up to then retire at the end, giving you a draw, making up for this rear guard. So it uses up the strength of it for hopefully giving you a defensive play afterwards when this card is retired and you draw a card. And then the last of the grade 3s being 2 copies of Absu Witter Dragon. When this unit is placed on rear guard, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Aelquilibra on its card name, choose up to one card other than a trigger unit from your drop, put it on the bottom of the deck. If you put a grade 3 or greater, counter blast 1 and draw a card. And with overcharge, at the end of battle, this unit attacked. If it was chosen by the ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Aelquilibra, put this unit in the soul, choose one of your units, and it gets +5 to end of turn. So just more soul buildup using this rear guard to also be able to give another unit +5 on top of any other power up it may have gotten. For the grade 2s, running 4 copies of Dragritter Shell Hub. When during your turn, if you have 3 or more units with overcharge, it gets +5 on rear guard. And with the overcharge ability, when your Vanguard attacks a grade 3 or greater unit, if it was chosen by the ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Aelquilibra, you can Energy Blast 3 to stand this unit, and it's +10 to end turn, making it a potential 5 attack deck, because then you can attack with 2 Shell Hub rear guards, attack with your Vanguard, then use both of the Energy Blasts for both to restand both, and then have even stronger rear guards restood for the attack to go up against your opponent with. And then the new grade 2 from Omniscient Awakening is Dragritter Badilla. With this card, when it's placed on rear guard, if from hand, you look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to one card with a different card name from this unit in the overcharge ability, up to 1 to equalize the scales of the world from among them, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle the deck. If you revealed a card, choose a card from your hand and put it into your soul or discard it. So building up more soul for you to use with Aelquilibra, but also giving you search power for more units with the overcharge ability to make use of on the rear guard circle circles as well. And with its own overcharge ability, if it was chosen by the ability of your grade 3 or grade Vanguard with Aelquilibra on its card name, it gets +10. So on top of the power boost that it will get from Aelquilibra, it's also getting +10 off of its own skill. For the grade 1s, 4 copies of Dragritter Feraliza. On overcharge, on rearguard, when this unit boost, if it was chosen by the ability of your Vanguard with Aelquilibra in its card name, it gets +10. And at the end of the battle, if you did not countercharge this turn, retire this unit and countercharge 1. So you can have multiples of this card, but you'll still only get the 1 countercharge. But you can still make use of the +10 on top of its own boost, being a very vital one to use with the Vanguard boost, or the next grade 1, which we also run for that added power, being the 4 copies of Dragritter Edie. On when it's placed on rearguard, if you have 2 more units with overcharge ability, counter +1, draw a card, and soul charge 1, giving you more soul to build up for Aelquilibra, but also with the additional overcharge, it was chosen by the ability of your Vanguard with Aelquilibra, it gets +10. So just like your Feraliza, it gets a +10 boost, but unlike her, she doesn't have the counter charge power. This unit just gives you more of a soul charge and counter +1 draw power when it's placed if you have more units with the overcharge ability. And then we're running 3 additional copies of the Rakenwerfer Dragon, just because it is a unit with the overcharge ability. We can call the 1 from the ride deck to rearguard. But with this one, if it was chosen by the ability of your grade 3 grade Vanguard with Aelquilibra, it gets +10. Once again, just another rearguard that could potentially get +10. So you can have some immensely powerful rearguard columns to be able to swing with against your opponent, or a very powerful booster for your Vanguard. And then 4 copies of the Sparkle Rejector Dragon, just for the Sentinel choice with the deck. And the order, which can be searched out with some of the other cards we mentioned in the deck, is to equilibrize the scales of the world. Play this card with counter +1. If you have a Vanguard with Aelquilibra on its card name, choose up to 2 grade 3 or less cards with different card names with the overcharge ability from your drop and call them to rearguard. So if you do lose out on some of the rearguards that were retired by your own abilities, this order can at least be used with a counterblast to call those cards back onto the rearguard circle, making 1 card into the power of 2 to give you those cards back to call as well. And then for the trigger lineup, we're going with the 7 critical, just with the immense numbers that we can do with our Vanguard and rearguard powers, and then being able to restand some of those units as well. If we get a trigger, it means all the difference to block against with our opponent going for the guard. And then also the 4 draws. You could potentially have front triggers here. We just, invest a lot with the rearguard, so you need a little more hand consistency to get cards back into your hand. And then the 4 copies of Parasolis for the heal trigger, just running the full generics for this spot, and the 1 copy of Dragveda for the restand power on top of all the pressure that our Vanguard provides. Being able to restand it is just an added bonus also. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Wanted to update a lot of the decks that were just forgotten from the Omniscient Awakening booster set. Cards that got support, like LCFL, definitely looking to still update those as well. But until then, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.